Yes. So the previous class we had stopped at the vapor compression system, the vapor compression refrigeration. So I'll just touch up on this once again, and then we'll go to the next type of working system. So what happens over here? We have the evaporator. Okay. That is the evaporator unit. That is nothing but the container inside the refrigerator where we are going to store the items. Right. Okay. So one second. Yes. Okay. So now what we are going to do is that, uh, so from the refrigerator, that is from the evaporator unit, what is going to happen? So cold fluid refrigerant is going to flow inside these tubes, and we have kept the items inside the refrigerator, which is usually at room temperature. So heat transfer takes place from the items to the tubes. So the items present inside it gets has come down to a lower temperature, and these refrigerant which is flowing inside the tube will absorb this heat. So when it comes out, it will be at a dry refrigerant and at low pressure. So that is means it will be in the generally in the gaseous phase. So next it goes to a compressor. So in the compressor, this gaseous phase refrigerant is going to be compressed. So it becomes dry refrigerant at high pressure. So pressure is going to be increased because it is going to be, since the gas is going to be compressed. Then it is going to go through the series of tubes in the condenser where this dry refrigerant is going to pass, and air from the atmosphere is going to pass over these tubes. So thereby heat exchange takes place from the refrigerant to the air. So this refrigerant temperature is going to go down. So we are going to have at the exit of this condenser, we'll have high pressure liquid refrigerant at room temperature. So the next thing is that it is going to go through an expansion valve or a throttle valve. So there is going to be a sudden expansion of this area in this pipe, right, through this valve. So what is going to happen as of now, what is entering is going to be the high pressure liquid refrigerant. So as soon as it is going to be expanded, okay, it is going to come down to low pressure because the area is increased. And since because the low pressure is going to be attained, the temperature will also fall down, so thereby it will become liquid refrigerant at low pressure and low temperature. That means a cool refrigerant is going to be obtained at this particular point. So next it is going to go into, as it is going to be the input for the evaporator unit. So this cycle continues in vapor compression refrigeration, right? So next, so this is about the vapor compression refrigeration system. So next we will see the other type of refrigeration system, which is called as the vapor absorption system. Okay, or the vapor absorption refrigerator. Okay, right. So let us see over here what happens. Okay, so here the vapor absorption schematic diagram will look like this. Okay, so as usual, we have the evaporator unit in which there is a series of copper tubes, okay, inside which the refrigerant is going to flow. Okay, we'll see that refrigerant, what is it going to be? Okay, so here it is going to be the liquid ammonia that will be coming flowing inside these tubes over here, okay, which is going to be at low pressure and low temperature, right? So now what is going to happen? As usual, the uh, the heat exchange takes place between the evaporator unit, okay, and the refrigerant that is flowing inside the tube. Thereby this liquid ammonia is going to absorb this heat. So once it is going to come out of this evaporator tubes, it is this ammonia which was at the inlet, it was liquid in state. When it is going to be exited out, it is going to be in the dry ammonia phase. That means it is going to be converted into gaseous phase because it has absorbed that heat. And as we know, ammonia has got very low boiling point. Slight increase in its temperature will get converted into gaseous phase. So it will be at dry ammonia, low pressure, right? Next, what is going to happen is that it is going to go inside a absorber. It is going to go inside a absorber, right? So what is this absorber? We don't have a compressor over here, okay? There is going to be a absorber over here. So it is going to contain this strong ammonia solution in which this dry ammonia gas is going to come and going to be there. Okay, so now this when this ammonia is going to be added up to this liquid is going to get converted into strong ammonia solution, and that is going to be pumped. So from there, what is going to happen from this the strong ammonia solution, okay, which is going to be at low pressure, it is going to be by using a pump, this fluid is going to be drawn and sent to the next stage. That is the function of the pump. It is going to receive the liquid from one end and push it to the other unit. Okay, so it is going to receive, this pump is going to receive the strong ammonia solution from this absorber, and it is going to send it to the next unit, which is the heat exchanger, or nothing but a condenser. Okay, right. So in this, what is going to happen in the heat exchanger is that now there is going to be a strong solution of uh, what is this? The ammonia that is going to come into this place. Okay, a strong ammonia solution is going to come over here. Next, what will happen is that it is going to exchange its heat. Already it was at low pressure, okay, but it was in the gaseous phase, okay, and it is going to exchange that heat with this. Now it is going to exchange, the strong ammonia solution is going to exchange heat with this fluid flowing inside these tubes. We'll come to this tube later on. Okay, what is this? Again, refrigerator is only there. Only heat exchange is going to take place. That is why it is only meant for heat exchange to take place. So now what is going to happen is this warm, strong ammonia solution is going to come out of this tank or this heat exchanger, and it is going to go to a next stage, which is nothing but the heat separator, either a heater or a separator. Okay, so what is going to happen in this heater or separator is that now once the strong ammonia solution enters into this heater, okay, there is a heating coil which is going to heat up this ammonia, strong ammonia. So what is going to happen is only this, since the temperature is going to rise, ammonia is going to get converted into gaseous phase. Okay, so there's only going to be a slight change in the temperature. Temperature is going to increase only for a slight amount, not for 100 degrees centigrade or 200 degrees centigrade, so that even the water will get evaporated. No, that is not the case. Only the temperature will be increased to a slight amount. Okay, right. So that what will happen? This ammonia, only the ammonia content will get evaporated. Okay, and I will be converted into gaseous phase. But what will be remaining over here is nothing but the ammonia, and the not in the concentrated form. It is the diluted form of ammonia that will be present. So that is going to flow down, majorly consisting of water in it, liquid diluted ammonia, right? Strong ammonia solution, it has got more concentration or percentage of ammonia in it, right? So this diluted ammonia is going to flow back into this heat exchanger, but through this tubes that is present. Okay, so I'll read all this. What is going to happen in the heater is that since there is going to be a slight increase in the temperature, ammonia is going to be converted into gaseous phase. The remaining liquid that is present is actually diluted ammonia will flow in these tubes that is present in the heat exchanger. Okay, right? So in the heat exchanger now, if you look outside these tubes, strong ammonia solution is flowing. Inside these tubes, diluted ammonia is flowing at a lower temperature. So heat exchange takes place, and this diluted ammonia is going to go back into this absorber only, right? So initially in this absorber, we have diluted ammonia. Once this dry ammonia coming out of the evaporator enters into this absorber, okay, what is going to happen? More amount of ammonia content is going to be added up to this diluted ammonia. Thereby we will be getting strong ammonia solution, right? Okay, now this is what is the major change between the vapor compression refrigeration and vapor absorption refrigeration. Now, whatever we have the gaseous phase of the ammonia in the heater or the separator, that is going to be in the gaseous phase, and that is going to be made to flow inside this condenser tubes. Inside this condenser tubes. Okay, so that means it over these tubes, air is going to flow. Inside the tube, we have strong ammonia solution, right? So because of this, heat exchange takes place between the air and the ammonia solution, ammonia gas. Okay, and since there is going to be heat exchanger, temperature of this ammonia is going to drop down, right? Temperature of the ammonia is going to drop down. So next what will happen? Now where does it go in the next phase? Okay, so where does it go next is that, sorry, yes, from the condenser. So from the condenser, now at the exit of the condenser, the ammonia will have a low temperature, okay, but at a higher pressure only. So next it is going to go through the expansion valve. It is going to pass through the expansion valve, okay, and then what is going to happen in the expansion valve? There's a sudden increase in the area. So thereby what will happen is there will be a drastic reduction in the pressure, ultimately leading to drop in the temperature also, and thereby what will happen is that this high pressure liquid ammonia will be getting converted into liquid ammonia at low pressure and lower temperature because the pressure has dropped down in the throttle valve or the expansion valve. So now after the expansion valve, what we are able to get is nothing but the liquid ammonia solution at lower pressure and lower temperature. Once ammonia is in the liquid form, it is at a very low temperature. Okay, so that is going to be the input for the evaporator unit, right? So this liquid ammonia solution is going to flow inside the evaporator tubes and this cycle repeats. So this is how the vapor absorption refrigeration works, right? So next is that we shall go to, now let us go to the air conditioning system. Okay, let us go to the air conditioning system. This is little bit different when compared to the refrigeration system. There's a small change, but apart from that, the working process of an air conditioning is similar to that of the refrigerator only. Excellent. So what is that? This air conditioners are meant again to reduce the temperature inside the system. Okay, but apart from that, there's a small change. We'll see how they work. So in a refrigerator, sorry, in an air conditioning system, what do we have inside the air conditioning system? So if we have the wall, so this is the wall that has been indicated, where if it is a single unit air conditioning system, okay, one half of the portion will be placed inside the room. So this is the room region. Okay, this is the outside region. Okay, and the wall is the separating unit between the room and the atmosphere or the outside environment. Okay, so we are able to, using a remote or whatever it is, we can adjust the temperature, humidity and all in the air conditioning system. So what happens in this air conditioning system is that the hot air present inside the room is being drawn into this air conditioning system. First, it will be passing through a filter. It will pass through a filter. There is no filter in a refrigeration, but there is a filter in a air conditioning system because it has to get rid of it has to separate the dust particles and other particles present in the air, right? So after that, this hot air is going to pass over these evaporator tubes that is present in a in a zigzag manner, right? So what is going to happen over here? Hot air is next going to pass over these evaporator coils, right? The evaporator coils. So inside this evaporator coil, the refrigerant is flowing, but over this evaporator tubes, the hot air is flowing. The refrigerator, the refrigerant flowing inside this coil will be at a lower temperature. Hot air is going to pass over these tubes. Thereby, heat exchange is going to take place. This hot air that has been drawn in loses its temperature. Its temperature is being brought down, and then that low temperature air is let out, okay, through the AC, right? But what is happening? This heat that was present in the air is being transmitted to the refrigerant flowing inside this tube, okay, right? So what is going to happen? That high temperature liquid refrigerant is going to pass to the compressor. It is going to pass to the compressor. Okay, now this refrigerant, which is at high temperature, low pressure, is going to be compressed. Okay, and that after compression, it will be pushed out of the compressor. So here we have the inlet of the dry refrigerant at low pressure, and after compression, okay, the high pressure dry refrigerant is going to pass through this tube, okay, and then where is it going about? It is going to go to the condenser region. It is going to go to the condenser region, okay. In the condenser region, what is happening? This condenser region is exposed to the outside atmosphere, okay. Inside these tubes present, the dry refrigerant is going to pass. So you can see here high pressure dry vapor refrigerant. That means high pressure gaseous phase of the refrigerant is going to flow inside this tube, and air present in the atmosphere is going to pass over these tubes. So heat exchange takes place from the refrigerant to the atmospheric air. So this dry refrigerant whose high pressure is there is going to be, whose temperature is going to drop down, okay, whose temperature is going to be dropped down, and that is going to flow through a capillary tube that is present below over here, okay, and after that is after condensing, and that is going to be converted as the liquid refrigerant, and that is going to pass once again in this evaporator region, right? So this is how the air conditioning works. But apart from this, there is a common motor, okay, attached to a shaft extended on both ends, where first thing is that this end of the fan has to draw the air from the room, or present whatever the air that is present inside the system. Okay, so this is going to draw the air inside the AC unit, and onto the other end, what is happening? This particular fan is going to blow the air outside, right? So there is more heat exchanging taking place between the system and the condenser units. So this is how the air conditioning system works. Okay, so if we look at this, we will be able to see one single piece of air conditioning usually present in the older days, which is nothing but this particular system. Okay, what we are able to now see something called as a split AC is nothing different when compared to this. The working is same, there is no change, except what they have done is that they have made this one single piece of the AC into two pieces, Okay, they split this entire working into two pieces. So this half, okay, is what is being mounted inside the room. This particular portion carrying the motor, compressor, fan and all those things is made as a separate unit and placed onto the terrace or rooftop. Okay, and these two units are connected by this copper tubes. So to whatever the extent of the distance is there from the room to where we are going to place this condenser unit, okay, it is going to be connected by the copper tubes only, so that this refrigerant can flow through this tubes. That is all is the only difference between the split AC and the olden days single unit AC. There is no other change at all. Okay, so this is how a, air conditioning system works. So so next we shall see is that uh, is the difference between vapor compression system and vapor absorption system. So the differences between vapor compression system and vapor absorption system are, so one is the working method. So here the refrigerant is compressed in vapor compression system, but in absorption system the vapor is being absorbed by the liquid ammonia present in the absorber tank. Okay, right. So next is the type of energy supplied. So compression system works purely on mechanical energy, okay, because it uses a compressor. So without that compressor, this refrigeration vapor compression system will never work. And if we look at the nature of working of absorption system, the pump is meant only to push the fluid, that's all. But all this heat exchange, everything takes place, works solely on heat energy only, right? On heat energy. That is heat exchanger, condenser, and all those things, converting ammonia from strong ammonia solution to liquid diluted ammonia and all those things, right? So that is the next change. Then next one, mechanical work done. Okay, more amount of work is being done by the compressor used. Okay, less work is done by the pump. The pump is meant only to just pump the fluid, but compressor needs to work for a more longer period of time. Okay, then the refrigerants used in these two systems. So here we will use generally Freon 1,2 or Freon 2,2. In vapor absorption system, predominantly preferred is ammonia. Okay, now capacity. Okay, when do we choose vapor compression system? When should we choose vapor absorption system? So capacity depends upon the capacity. If it is less than 1,000 tons of refrigeration, then they will normally choose vapor compression system only. They will not go for absorption system. For large capacities, more than 1,000 tons of refrigeration that is required, so there they will go for vapor absorption system, not compression system. There is a reason for that. We will see that in the next points. Okay. So the next, noise produced in vapor compression systems is the compressor has to run. The sound produced by that is more. But here in absorption system, the system is quite, it's very silent and working. Okay. Maintenance high due to the compressor, because the compressor works continuously. So there is more amount of maintenance, but the maintenance is less in absorption system. Operating cost of vapor compression system is costlier because of the compressor, then its maintenance and all. In absorption system, it is quite less. Leakage in a compression system, that is the normal refrigerators at home and all, is a common problem. Okay, but in the absorption system, there is almost no leakage at all. Okay, right. Now coming to why we have to limit it to usage of 1,000 tons for compression system, more than 1,000 tons for absorption system, is because relatively higher but reduces the part loads. Okay, now what is this? Now when we are going to use for smaller capacities of refrigeration, okay, compression system works better. If the efficiency is better, it's economical also. But for the same power or for the same refrigeration effect, if you are going to use absorption system, then it is going to be a very costly one. Then second thing is that it is going to occupy more amount of space for the smaller quantity of refrigeration that we require. That is why this 1,000 tons is the limitation that comes into picture, because if it is less than 1,000 tons, okay, the compression system is much more efficient. But once it exceeds more than that, the vapor absorption system is more preferred. So one simple way to understand this is that, so vapor compression system is generally used in our home appliances, refrigerators, right? And if we go to these ice cream parlors where they store the ice boxes and all those things, that also works on vapor compression system only, because the amount of refrigeration required is less. But whereas when we go to malls, theaters, and all such big places where the entire large area has to be refrigerated, okay, which requires lot of refrigeration. Okay, so there they will not use compression system because you need a large compressor, it makes more noise, efficiency will go down. Okay, so in those cases they will use vapor absorption system, right? So this is all about the vapor compression system and vapor absorption system, right? Okay, so we'll stop here for today.